All right, we are live yet again. Good afternoon, everybody. So today I got in a couple of these little tiny arcades, and I thought I would have you join me as I shoot a mini review of them. And I'm going to be doing this for the Extras channel and for Amazon. And I have previously looked at this one, the pole position one, which actually isn't bad. This one is probably one of the better ones that they make. We're going to take a look at the Ninja Turtles here. This one is not so good. And then we'll look at Burger Time, which is passable. So that's the plan. So there we go. And yeah, so we'll get started with some recording here in a minute. And I will bring in some greetings from near and far. So we have Cedar Lake is joining us yet again. Christopher Dale is here again as well. And Gary Dorman is here. And Zoran is here. And yeah, these are, they're what they are. They're good little stocking stuffers. They can work as keychains because you have a little clip on them, right? Yeah, stocking stuffers. I think that's what we're looking at here. And we also have Panagiatis joining us. Welcome. So yeah, we're going to just play around with these a little bit. I've got like a super close-up shot I can switch to here too, so we can get a better view of the screen. So I'm all kind of set up here. And yeah, the little marquee lights up. They're kind of fun. This one isn't bad. Like I said, of the three, I think pole position is probably the best because its gameplay kind of matches up the best with everything. But they're what they are. I would not expect much out of these things, so we have to temper it in that manner. But they're cool. They have they try to retain kind of the original artwork of the original arcade games. And I think the little processors on these things, because there's no Linux or Android boot on these, they just go right to the game. You see how quickly that boot up is? So I think a game like Burger Time here is probably the best kind of game for this, and maybe pole position. And it's very unfair because, like you saw, the game just barely started there before I got eaten. And, so it's really hard. And it's hard even to play because everything's so tiny. But this is actually a halfway decent port of Burger Time. And I suppose if you get good at this, you might actually be better at the real one because it's so tiny and the controls are so hard to maneuver. And it's really unfair because, like, they come right at you. Let's see if we can do a little better here. Oh. I didn't pepper the other guy. I mean, it's hard. It's hard because of its control surfaces here. There we got that guy. See that? There we go. And what I learned about these things, and I was surprised about this. These are not like the arcade ports, and these are not like even the Nintendo ports of these. They actually make these games specifically for these handhelds, and some are done better than others. So this one's a good one, and we're going to go through and shoot a review on all these in a second. Ninja Turtles, as you'll see in a minute, not so good. Pole position, I think, is probably the best of the three here. Although Burger Time is pretty good from a port standpoint. And we looked at a few others a while back, but yeah, it's difficult. Karibi is saying that he doesn't like the form factor. Yeah, they are super tiny. I mean, that's kind of their, that's kind of their thing, right? It's like they're super tiny. They fit on a keychain, and these are, what these are for. See, this is the kind of stuff, and I am not disparaging my sister at all, but this is the kind of stuff that my sister would get for me, because what do you get me? Because I do this stuff for a living. So like, what do you get a guy like me? This is what you get me. When you're surrounded in like your midlife crisis room like I am, this is what you get for your midlife crisis 40-somethings. Because I used to play this game a lot in the arcade, so it's kind of fun to get a little thing like that for it. So yeah, so what we're going to be doing today, and I got a lot of folks popping in on Amazon right now. We got like 100 and something plus on Amazon. So I already shot my intro to this, so we're going to kind of go through the hardware. I've got a nice little dark shot here of the marquees that we're going to run. Doesn't that look cool? So we'll talk about that a little bit, and then we'll go into some gameplay. And I'll switch them all on here so you can get a feel for what they all look like here. And my biggest disappointment with Ninja Turtles is that it's like a really bad port. So it had potential. It looks the part, but it doesn't play the part. So when you boot it up, it's like, wow, it actually looks like what I remember from the arcade, but it plays like this looping song that is not from the arcade game. So it's not great. But like I said, I think Burger Time and Pole Position, for what these things are, they actually did a halfway decent port on them. Although I think the batteries on my Pole Position are starting to die because when the speaker comes on, it gets a little dimmer. And these run on AAA batteries. And they boot like right up. And they're very good about preserving power, so you'll see they'll keep turning themselves off and back on again. So we'll kind of step through that when we shoot as we go here. And yeah, I am very disappointed with the Ninja Turtles one. And this one's hard because, you know, for a lot of us men and women of a certain age, we played a lot of this in the arcade, right? So if you're going to do this, it's got to be right. And oops, yeah. So I remember my Dairy Queen, my local Dairy Queen, had the Ninja Turtles arcade game, and we used to go there specifically to play this game. It was awesome. And so we'll go from there. Let me just do a quick little chat thing on Amazon real quick, and we will continue shooting the review. All right. So there we go. Okay, folks. So let's start it off here. We're going to do a hardware overview. I already shot my intro. I did that before I started streaming here, and we will take it from there. Yeah. Here's one comment from. Yeah, I would agree with Gorman's statement here on this one. These two, believe it or not, are not bad. I mean, you got to deal with the form factor, but these two are not bad. In fact, Burger Time is actually kind of challenging, both in its gameplay and the form factor and how that lends to the gameplay. So of the three, I would say, like, let me put it this way, before we get into the rest of this. If you're out shopping right now and you've got somebody that loves old arcade games, these two are not offensive. They're actually kind of fun. I'm not sitting and playing them all the time, but you know what's funny about Pole Position? Because I got this one in a while ago, and my kids like to play with it, and it got them interested in some of the games I used to play as a kid. So this was like a gateway into some of that stuff. And like I said, Burger Time here, not great, but it's better than I thought. I had very low expectations going in. Mark Smith says they may not have. Yeah, I think that's one of the issues on the Turtles, is that they got the rights to the game, and I'm guessing they got the rights to the IP of the Turtles, but they didn't get the music, because that was the thing. So if you ever have an opportunity, because they've ported the Turtles arcade game over to a few different platforms, and I think from a context standpoint, this game came out, I think, in 1989 or 88. And so the graphics looked great for the time. And when you walked into the arcade and it was on its attract screen, it would play it was like it was playing its own version of the opening theme song and animation. And that was like, whoa, look at that. Like, that was a major attract screen kind of thing. And the game was really fun to play. And you could have 4 people playing. This, of course, only allows 1, and it only lets you play with Donatello. So there's some limits to that. Gorman here mentions that he used to play with these two about 30 years ago. Yeah, I used to play this one. This was at the local Dairy Queen. I didn't play much Burger Time in the arcade, but I think I played it on the ColecoVision. I think my friends had the Coleco game. And Pole Position, I loved Pole Position. So we had like an arcade around the corner from me in like I have like this memory of going to I kid you not, of going to the record store and buying the Michael Jackson Thriller cassette, and then having that in the car, and we were with my dad, and we just had one of those days out with the kids, you know, so we got the new Michael Jackson album, and we drove to this arcade that had just opened up in town. And I remember going in and playing video games and then mini golfing. It was like the ultimate 80s day, and that was what I remembered that specifically. And Pole Position was in all of them. And so we had this little arcade, which is now a pizza shop, actually next door to the Dairy Queen, as a matter of fact. And we also had a really nice little arcade at the bowling alley, which unfortunately has recently been demolished. This is how awful it is to be me, right? Like all these things from my childhood have been demolished or wiped away, but I have these mini arcades, so that's that. Karibi wants to know, are they powered by AAA or AA? They are AAA powered, so they run with AAA batteries, so they don't have any rechargeables in there. But if they go dormant for a while, you're going to want to take those batteries out, right? Because they're going to leak all over the place. So you'll want to do that. So yeah, for sure. So the light up marquees, though, are a nice touch here. And they boot right up. So I think what we'll do is we'll kick off the next shot with them off, and I'll switch them on just to show how quickly they boot up. But yeah, they are very tiny to be playable. I would say, though, I will give you this much. Like the pole position one, I have actually played it. You know what I mean? Like I've played it and actually was able to play it a bit. The problem with them all is that they ported over the game specifically for these cabinets. So there's some issues with the gameplay. So for example, in pole position, if you don't get off the line quick enough, the car behind you just drives into you and blows you up right away. So that's a problem. And then in Burger Time, like that, those tomato guys, the hot dogs, get you like right away. So there is some trickiness to that. Okay, and Christopher Dale says it'd be cool if there were versions 3x bigger. They do have some bigger ones, not from this company, but there are some arcades out there. I think there's a Pac-Man. I saw some YouTubers had just come up with some new ones that were doing Dragon's Lair, which looked really cool. And Mark Smith says his favorite was Demolition Derby with 4 trackballs and Crazy Kong, the Donkey Kong ripoff. I don't think I ever played those two. And Gorman says arcades and mini golf, and add some bowling and laser quest, and that's his childhood. We had a really cool place, which was not close to me. It was about an hour, 45 minutes away, called the Milford, Connecticut Amusement Center. I think it's still around. And they had an awesome arcade. They had just tons and tons of the latest games. And then they also had Q-Zar, which was in the 90s. That was a lot of fun. So good stuff. Yeah, New Wave Toys is the one to look for. If you're on Amazon, check out New Wave Toys. That one has that, and we'll figure that out. Jared Thompson says that I missed the gameplay. Not yet. I've been blabbering away here, so I got to get to work. I was not planning to spend all that much time doing this video, so we should get to work. So let me do that real quick. So in case you're just tuning in, I am shooting a review while we stream. I do this a lot, and I do this because it's very efficient use of my time. I can get stuff over to Amazon, I can get stuff up on YouTube, I can engage with all of you, and I can get work done all at the same time. So you're basically watching me work. And for some reason, people enjoy doing that. So that's why I stream now. It's been a lot of fun. And I now have a connection that works. So I've got my fiber optic going here. I'm pushing out, I don't know, about 12 megabits per second between all the different things that I'm doing. My kid is up there doing e-learning, and everybody's good. No problems. It's been awesome. All right. So let's kick it off, shall we? 3, 2, 1. So let's take a closer look now at the hardware. These are little plastic keychain arcades. They're not very big. The controls, of course, are very small, which creates some challenges, both good and bad, for the gameplay. They run on AAA batteries. They boot up super quick. Check it out. If we turn all these on, they just come right up to the game. There's no boot up process, and they are ready to be played. So in some ways, they kind of mirror what it was like to have an original arcade game. They just would boot right up, and you could get to gaming. Now, what's cool about all of them is that they have a light-up marquee, and you can see what that looks like in the dark, which is pretty cool. So that's a nice little touch on them. And then, of course, the artwork here is fairly close to what the original arcade cabinets had. Nothing spectacular, but again, kind of a fun little mini cabinet as a stocking stuffer or something like that. And you've got a little keychain on all of them. What I wanted to do now, though, is step through some of the gameplay, because I really like 2 of these, and one of them is not so good. Let's begin, though, with pole position, and we'll see how this one plays. All right, let's take a look and see how that clip came out. And they make so much noise, don't they? Okay, let's turn that off for a second here. I just want to make sure I covered all the things I wanted to cover. This one's going to go on the extras channel. This is not like a main channel one. I had reviewed a few of these last year on the main channel, and there was like 0 viewer interest for it. So these will be extras channel, and then I'll get, probably tomorrow night we'll have another laptop up on the main channel. So let's take a look at the hardware overview, and we'll figure that out. And Mark Smith says he's waiting for a Julia Child disaster, chicken on the floor. Yeah, I'm glad I don't have a cooking show, because there'd be lots of disasters. You know what happened this morning? Here's the comment, in case you're wondering what he was saying. My goodness, it's so loud. So this morning, my kids like, don't judge me, but my kids like those frozen pancakes that you put in the microwave. That's what they like to eat for breakfast. Fine with me, right? So we just buy up like hundreds of them. So I nuked the pancakes for a minute, got them all cut up on the plate. And my brother has a maple sugar business. We get gallons of maple sugar from my brother up in Vermont. And I go to pour the maple syrup, and I drop the bottle, and the syrup goes flying everywhere. I don't know how I did that, but that was something. All right. Let's get to it here. By the way, there's more people watching on Amazon than YouTube right now. So clearly Amazon shoppers have a broader interest in these than all of you. Well, those of you watching are interested. Those who are deciding not to watch are not. All right, let's watch the hardware overview, and then we'll carry it on from there. 3, 2, 1. So let's take a closer look now at the hardware. These are little plastic keychain arcades. They're not very big. The controls, of course, are very small, which creates some challenges, both good and bad, for the gameplay. They run on AAA batteries. They boot up super quick. Check it out. If we turn all these on, they just come right up to the game. There's no boot up process, and they are ready to be played. So in some ways, they kind of mirror what it was like to have an original arcade game. They just would boot right up, and you could get to gaming. Now, what's cool about all of them is that they have a light-up marquee, and you can see what that looks like in the dark, which is pretty cool. So that's a nice little touch on them. And then, of course, the artwork here is fairly close to what the original arcade cabinets had. Nothing spectacular, but again, kind of a fun little mini cabinet as a stocking stuffer or something like that. And you've got a little keychain on all of them. What I wanted to do now, though, is step through some of the gameplay, because I really like 2 of these, and one of them is not so good. The original arcade cabinets had. Nothing spectacular, but again, kind of a fun little mini cabinet as a stocking stuffer or something like that. And you've got... I'm going to reshoot that. Jack from Amazon's popping in here, so he wants to know which one of these is my favorite. And I would say, of the 3, pole position, definitely, because this is the most playable, I think, of the bunch. And we're going to get into some gameplay in a second. But I think what I want to do is, I wasn't totally happy. I kind of repeated some details on this, so I may reshoot this, because I didn't find a spot where I could cut quickly. So I think we're going to do that real quick. But yeah, these things are cool. I think they're fun for stocking stuffers. And like, this is what you get a guy like me, who you can't shop for. So that's that. Hey, I wanted to give a special thank you here, which was really generous of you. Mark Bollinger, frequent viewer, I appreciate your super chat. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you very much. That helps out quite a bit. And we'll get your name up in lights for the upcoming credit roll changes. So thank you again for being such a loyal viewer and a big supporter of me. So thank you very much for your contributions there. All right, so let's try this again. I'm going to do one more take on this, because I wasn't crazy about the hardware overview that we did on the last one. So let me go back to my overview here, and let me just go and zero out what I just did. I keep a copy of it, but I like to redo it. All right, let's try this again. 3, 2, 1. So let's take a closer look now at the hardware. These are plastic, as you might expect. They all kind of are built in the same cabinet, but they have different decals on them that largely mirror the original arcade games. They run on AAA batteries. There's a little speaker on the bottom. They're pretty loud, but not too loud, so I think you can get by with a couple of these around the house. And that was a bad take. Let me do this one more time. Edge Healer is joining us on Amazon. Hello there. Let me start this one more time. 3, 2, 1. So let's take a closer look now at the hardware. These are fun little stocking stuffers, nothing spectacular. They're made out of plastic, but they all have some really nice decals that largely mirror what the original arcades look like. You got a keychain on them, so you can use them as a keychain if you want. And then they're powered by AAA batteries, and there's a switch here to turn them on and off. They do have a pretty good power saving mode, so they usually shut down after they've been on for a minute or two if you're not playing with it, so they do seem to preserve the batteries quite nicely. If this is something that you only pick up and play occasionally, I would recommend maybe taking the batteries out so they don't leak, because they are just standard AAA batteries. So we'll get into gameplay in a minute. Now you can also see here that the marquee lights up, and we did a shot in the dark here a little bit earlier, so you can see what that looks like. So they look cool, you know, they're close to what the original arcades look like. Unfortunately, not all of these play like the original arcades, and that's because their controls are so tiny, but also because they ported games over specifically for these cabinets. They actually write them for these things, and as a result, the gameplay doesn't quite match up with what you might remember from the original, and in one case here, it's a pretty poor translation over from the original arcade. But let's take a look first at pole position. We'll look at Burger King after that, and then we'll close up here with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and we'll step through some gameplay on each. I think that was a better take. Edge Healer wants to know, can it get on a backpack? Yeah, I think so, because you've got this little hook on here, and that should definitely, if you've got like a little hook on the end of your backpack, that should totally fit on there. And it might be kind of fun just to have this kind of flopping around there. I mean, it's a nice metal, you know, metal clip, I think. So I think it's metal, yeah. So it should work for that for sure. Okay. And Recipe Bob picked up that deal on the headphones we did the other day. Yeah, those were a good deal, 20 bucks. You can, I put up from the live stream a review on the Extras channel. I've got 2 more from that stream that we're going to do as well. Christopher Dale was talking about the larger ones. Yeah, New Wave Toys are the ones that make the larger arcade cabinets. They have a Pac-Man, and now they have another one there, whatchamacallit. Did I say Burger King, really? Let me watch this again. Here, hang on a second. Let's play this back real quick, and then we'll move on. All right, so let me just go back in and add the clip, and we'll double check and see how we did on that one. If I said Burger King, we're going to have to redo it all. So I'm thinking about dinner already. That's a problem. All right, let's watch this. 3, 2, 1. So let's take a closer look now at the hardware. These are fun little stocking stuffers, nothing spectacular. They're made out of plastic, but they all have some really nice decals that largely mirror what the original arcades look like. You got a keychain on them, so you can use them as a keychain if you want. And then they're powered by AAA batteries, and there's a switch here to turn them on and off. They do have a pretty good power saving mode, so they usually shut down after they've been on for a minute or two if you're not playing with it, so they do seem to preserve the batteries quite nicely. If this is something that you only pick up and play occasionally, I would recommend maybe taking the batteries out so they don't leak, because they are just standard AAA batteries. So we'll get into gameplay in a minute. Now you can also see here that the marquee lights up, and we did a shot in the dark here a little bit earlier, so you can see what that looks like. So they look cool, you know, they're close to what the original arcades look like. Unfortunately, not all of these play like the original arcades, and that's because their controls are so tiny, but also because they ported games over specifically for these cabinets. They actually write them for these things, and as a result, the gameplay doesn't quite match up with what you might remember from the original, and in one case here, it's a pretty poor translation over from the original arcade. So to save me from the Burger King thing, I'm going to stop it right there. So I'm going to cut it there, and then we're going to come back on me, and I'm going to intro the gameplay, and we'll go from there. So that way I don't have to reshoot the whole thing. So let me, I'm curious now to hear what I said. Hang on a second. Let me just find the good cut point here. Let's take a look first at from the original arcade. Okay, so we're going to cut it at from the original arcade. I think I'm getting like, it's my advanced age now, right? I'm using the wrong words. But let's take a look first at pole position. We'll look at Burger King after that. Oh, I did say Burger King. That's crazy. And then we'll close up here with the teenage. Yep, so thank you everybody for catching that, because I would have been editing, I would have been like, ah, and then I wouldn't have had the right cut. It would have been awful. So I have this rule about jump cuts, because I had a professor that would fail you for jump cuts. Like literally, you would fail the class. Like there was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So like that's been drilled into me from my college days. So there you go. And by the way, this is exactly why Thomas Woodford brings up a very good point here. Let's pull him up on the screen here. Oops. Oh, yeah, he had to bring out readers to play with those. So somebody had just commented on something about the viewers. Yeah, so we're good here. But thank you, everybody, for catching that. All right, so now we're going to move on to gameplay. And we're going to start with pole position. Now, I've got another camera set up here that has like a closer view. So this one might work pretty good, I think. Yeah. And I would say out of all of them that this one is probably the closest to what I experienced there. Let's see if I can turn the volume down on this. There's usually some controls here. And I think it's flickering just because the batteries are dying on it. My kids have been playing a lot with this one. All right, so we're going to do that. Okay. And yeah, so we're gonna slice it right before that. So I'm gonna cut in and say, okay, let's see how these things play, and then so I'm gonna just like end it there so we don't hear Burger King, because I don't think I said Burger King before the end, right? Am I right, everybody? Let me know. Ed Sheeler, let me know in the Amazon chat, because I think it was just at the end that I said Burger King. And in fairness, there is a Burger King video game. I had it on my Xbox 360. They sold these Xbox 360 games at Burger King as a promotion. So it's like that creepy king head. It was back 2006, I think, 2007, whatever it was fun. Okay, I think we are good to go. Did I show? Let me just check one thing. I just want to see if we showed the. Yeah, I did the light up marquee. Okay, perfect. All right, we're good there. And you saw how I did that now. So usually, if I was a regular YouTuber, I would edit that clip in later. But because I have this stuff, I can just work it in, right, with my vMix setup here. So that's how I did that. All right, so we're going to start off with pole position. All right, good. Everybody confirms that Burger King did not come in until the end, so we're safe here. Good. And say hello to Jake, everybody. Jake was helping out yesterday on the stream. I'm just going to get this thing in focus here. Yeah, it should work. This camera's on manual focus, so I have to get it into the right position. So Jake was helping out yesterday on the Oculus Quest stream that we did. That one did very well on Amazon too, so good stuff. Okay, here we go. Ready, folks? 3, 2, 1. All right, let's take a look now at some gameplay. We're going to begin with pole position, which is my favorite. Whoops, there we go. That makes the whatever roll. What do they call that? The blooper reel? 3, 2, 1. All right, let's take a look now at my favorite game of the mix here, pole position. We're going to give a little gameplay demo now. You can see it boots up super quick. And I'm going to hit the start button here and get going. And what I like about pole position, listen. They've maintained a lot of the original sound effects, so this one of the three really has the most authentic kind of sound. Now the screen is, oops, I hit the wrong button there. The screen is kind of flickering because I think the batteries are dying. I've had this one for a while and my kids like to play with it. And yeah, it's really tough to control, but this game actually does a pretty decent job of replicating to some degree the original. The gameplay looks similar. It's got the same kind of flow to the gameplay where you've got to qualify first for your position on the pole, and I'm not doing very well at that right now. And then, of course, you go into the main race. So let's go around the rest of the track here. Now, you'll remember that the original pole position had a shifter, like a low and a high gear. This one doesn't have that. So it does its shifting automatically. So it kind of has like an automatic transmission to it. But I want to get through this race or the qualification real quick, because one thing I noticed with the gameplay is that the other cars, when we get to the main race, will actually drive into your car. So let's let this thing start up here. And here we go. Now, if I don't do anything, watch what happens. See, like it just drives right into you. I don't remember that happening in the arcade version. Maybe I'm incorrect about that, but that was my experience there. And then you get the full race and you can kind of do your thing with it. So, it's a good little port. Again, it's its own port for the cabinet, but it's the best of the three that we've got there. Let's take a look now at Burger Time and see how this one plays. All right. I almost did it. I was hearing myself say Burger King again, so I saved myself there. All right, let's watch that and make sure that clip works. And thank you all for catching that earlier. That was a big help. Okay, so we're going to do 3, and this is pole position. And we'll see how this one comes out. You know, maybe I'll just try this on the regular channel and see what happens. I got like really poor viewership the last time I reviewed these things on my main channel, but why not, you know? 3, 2, 1. All right, let's take a look now at my favorite game of the mix here, pole position. We're going to give a little gameplay demo now. You can see it boots up super quick. And I'm going to hit the start button here and get going. And what I like about pole position, listen, they've maintained a lot of the original sound effects. So this one of the 3 really has the most authentic kind of sound. Now the screen is, oops, I hit the wrong button there. The screen is kind of flickering because I think the batteries are dying. I've had this one for a while and my kids like to play with it. And yeah, it's really tough to control, but this game actually does a pretty decent job of replicating to some degree the original. The gameplay looks similar. It's got the same kind of flow to the gameplay where you've got to qualify first for your position on the pole, and I'm not doing very well at that right now. And then, of course, you go into the main race. So let's go around the rest of the track here. Now, you'll remember that the original pole position had a shifter, like a low and a high gear. This one doesn't have that. So it does its shifting automatically. So it kind of has like an automatic transmission to it. But I want to get through this race or the qualification real quick, because one thing I noticed with the gameplay is that the other cars, when we get to the main race, will actually drive into your car. So let's let this thing start up here. And here we go. Now, if I don't do anything, watch what happens. See, like it just drives right into you. I don't remember that happening in the arcade version. Maybe I'm incorrect about that, but that was my experience there. And then you get the full race and you can kind of do your thing with it. So, you know, it's a good little port. Again, it's its own port for the cabinet, but it's the best of the 3 that we've got there. Let's take a look now at Burger Time and see how this one plays. Okay, so let's go boot Burger Time up here. Just going to get it in focus. There we go. Okay, now this one, you know, the other game was left and right. This one is the whole deal, right? So let's see how we do on this one. All right, so let's do 3, 2, 1. All right, so let's begin a game of Burger Time here. And just like the other one, it's super tough because, let me start again here. 3, 2, 1. All right, so let's begin here with some Burger Time. And this one's a little bit tougher from a control standpoint because you got this tiny little joystick here that you have to move in 4 directions. And it doesn't always give you a lot of good tactile feedback here. So it's hard to make the precise controls that this game kind of requires. And everything is super tiny here, as you can see. So it's often hard to see the enemies coming at you. The physics, if you want to call it that, of the pepper here doesn't seem to work like the arcade version looks. I've been playing this arcade game a lot on my Mister thing upstairs, and so it doesn't quite have that feel that I remembered from the original arcade. But it's still kind of fun. It's a decent port, and I think this kind of port works well for whatever hardware is driving this thing. So again, not perfect, but close to what the arcade was like, and the most challenging thing here is just trying to deal with the very tiny controls. All right, how did that work for everybody? Let me know how that segment worked. I'm going to play it back real quick and make sure I'm happy with it. Also want to thank Ken Driggers II for your Super Chat contribution. Thank you very much. And we also got in a super sticker from Steven Dryvik. So thank you very much, Steven, for that. The super stickers don't get carried through to my vMix software like the super chats do. So I jump back and forth to my YouTube control panel to make sure I got everybody covered. But thank you for your contribution, Ken and Steven. And Ken gave a shout out to Jake, who's been helping us out on the channel. All right, so let's play back that clip there. By the way, I'm not going to be streaming for too long today because I got like a bunch of editing to do. This is like my busy season. You know, if you're an accountant, tax season is busy. if you're a gadget reviewer, holiday shopping season, very busy. So I've got a bunch of stuff that Jake edited for me that I've got to just review and put up. All right, let's take a look at burger time. Let me know what you all thought of that. I'm trying to do like a minute of gameplay per device here. 3, 2, 1. All right, so let's begin here with some burger time. And this one's a little bit tougher from a control standpoint because you got this tiny little joystick here that you have to move in 4 directions. And it doesn't always give you a lot of good tactile feedback here. So it's hard to make the precise controls that this game kind of requires. And everything is super tiny here, as you can see. So it's often hard to see the enemies coming at you. The physics, if you want to call it that, of the pepper here doesn't seem to work like the arcade version looks. I've been playing this arcade game a lot on my Mister thing upstairs, and so it doesn't quite have that feel that I remembered from the original arcade. But it's still kind of fun. It's a decent port, and I think this kind of port works well for whatever hardware is driving this thing. So, again, not perfect, but close to what the arcade was like, and the most challenging thing here is just trying to deal with the very tiny controls. All right, I can live with that. Yeah, we're not going for perfection here. We're just going for something that'll work on the extras channel. Got a comment from John Litton. Watched with great appreciation the video review of the Elgato green screen. I mentioned something that kept all my virtual backgrounds, and I would love to know what it was. So what I was using in that video was my TriCaster, it's gotten even more expensive from when I bought it. It's a really pricey video production device. However, what I'm using now is something called vMix, and it offers very similar functionality. The virtual sets are not quite as advanced, but they're close to it. So you can download from vMix a 90-day trial, and you get full functionality of the software. And they do have some of those virtual sets in there that you can play with. So that's what I would try out with the green screen and see if it works for you. That would be definitely something to check out. All right. Yes, so I've got some comments here about the overall gameplay experience here. So Waggy Tail says, one needs the eyes and fingers of a kid. Yeah, my little ones love the pole position game. They've been having a lot of fun with it. So like I said, it actually led to some appreciation of that. Flood of Sins says hello. Recipe Bob says they need a USB out. I agree. That's what they need. I think those New Wave toy cabinets, the larger ones, I think those do have that. And Phil Dawson probably has big hands, and he says this is a no-no for me. So yeah, there's an acquired taste to these, I believe. That's why I think these are something you give as a gift more than what you would want for yourself. Like I said, this is what my sister would get for me. Because if you think about it, like, what are you going to get me? What would you get me? You can't get me anything. I've got everything I need. I've got more than I could ever want. And it's fun because I get to tell you all about it. So I've got to do another purge because I have to clean up this weekend. So my Xbox comes in this weekend too, so we can play around with that. All right, so let's go to the Ninja Turtles one here, and we'll go from there. And let's take a look at this one. This one, unfortunately, is not as good as the others. All right. And this one, if you are a fan of Ninja Turtles, I apologize in advance for what you're about to see. Okay. 3, 2, 1. All right, so the last one here, of course, is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Let's boot it up here and see what it looks like. Now, my big complaint with this is that it doesn't actually have the song, the original theme song that the title screen of the game had in the arcade. And you can see just how slow everything is working here. Now, you saw the 4 turtles come in, but you can only play as Donatello. And listen to the music, because this is what plays the whole time. It just loops that song over and over again. But you do have a couple of settings here, so you can turn the music off if you want. So at least they have the option to turn that music off if it's not doing it for you. And then one of these buttons actually gets into the gameplay. And what's cool is that they did try to make it kind of like the original arcade. You got that little opening theatrical scene there with the turtles jumping down to save April. We've got all of the original artwork from the arcade cabinet like we mentioned before. And you can see them kind of going through the motions here. But it's running very slowly. And the gameplay is not much better than the cutscene there. And I think this thing is kind of at the limit here. So again, it's just Donatello, I believe, and I'll try to get you a better view of the screen here. And so this button jumps forward, this one jumps backwards. You've got like a special move here, and you can kind of beat the guys up. And they tried their best to get the feel of the arcade, and they tried to replicate the levels, but it's just running super slow. And if you were a fan of the arcade game, this is not an emulation of it. Again, it's a port and not a very good one, unfortunately. So I would liken it to like the 21st century equivalent of one of those Tiger games. You know, it's got a little bit more in the sense that they are using bitmapped graphics, but the gameplay doesn't feel much better than that. So this one's kind of a hard pass. And my understanding is I haven't played through too much of this because it's so hard to get through the first level, but my understanding is that they only did like the first 3 levels of the game. So it's not quite what the other ones are in this series. And it's because, you know, this is more of a modern 16-bit arcade game, whereas a lot of the other games they've released in these cabinets are more simple 80s games. So I think from the 3 that we've looked at here, I really do like the pole position one, honestly. The Burger Time one is pretty good, but Turtles is definitely one that's just not working for the control scheme here or the hardware driving it. So skip this one, and maybe these 2 might be a fun gift for the 80s gamer in your life. That's going to do it for now. Until next time, this is Lon.TV. Thanks for watching. Boom. We're done with the video. How about that, everybody? So let's watch that real quick and see how it came out. Yeah, so I was hoping you would all react the way that I see you reacting to it. Yeah, I think they pushed their own hardware too far. And when you think about it, you know, let's look at the cost involved in making one of these things. So they were very smart in how they manufactured these because, let me just add my clip name here, because what these are all in the same molding. So the hardware is identical with the exception of the control surfaces, but even then, you know, they could probably use the same molds. You just have to punch holes in it right? So same screens. The screen looks a little bit longer on this one, but I mean, for the most part, the hardware is the same. And this was one of their newest ones. So they might be using this cabinet design with other games that they came out with this year. So from a manufacturing standpoint, they're all the same, save for the software and the stickers and the little controls here. Beyond that, they're the same thing. So they could very easily stamp these things out and then decide which games to put in there. And like I said, the 80s games, you know, just work better than the more modern 16-bit titles do. That's where you go from there. And here's a fun little chat from a viewer from last Chicker. Another Friday night in the EU, and it's me and rugby. Awesome. I've had friends that played rugby in college. A couple of my friends were on the rugby team, but I was more of a fan of watching the rugby games and socializing with the rugby team, but not actually playing the sport. I don't like to bleed, so they used to come back pretty beat up. What I love about rugby, though, is it's such a rough sport, but there's a lot of camaraderie amongst the players, or the combatants, if you will. All right, let's watch this real quick. 3, 2, 1. All right, so the last one here, of course, is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Let's boot it up here and see what it looks like. Now, my big complaint with this is that it doesn't actually have the song, the original theme song that the title screen of the game had in the arcade. And you can see just how slow everything is working here. Now, you saw the 4 turtles come in, but you can only play as Donatello. And listen to the music, because this is what plays the whole time. It just loops that song over and over again. But you do have a couple of settings here, so you can turn the music off if you want. So at least they have the option to turn that music off if it's not doing it for you. And then one of these buttons actually gets into the gameplay. And what's cool is that they did try to make it kind of like the original arcade. You got that little opening theatrical scene there with the turtles jumping down to save April. We've got all of the original artwork from the arcade cabinet, like we mentioned before. And you can see them kind of going through the motions here. But it's running very slowly, and the gameplay is not much better than the cutscene there. And I think this thing is kind of at the limit here. So again, it's just Donatello, I believe. And I'll try to get you a better view of the screen here. And so this button jumps forward. This one jumps backwards. You've got like a special move here, and you can kind of beat the guys up. And they tried their best to get the feel of the arcade, and they tried to replicate the levels, but it's just running super slow. And if you were a fan of the arcade game, this is not an emulation of it. Again, it's a port and not a very good one, unfortunately. So I would liken it to like the 21st century equivalent of one of those Tiger games. You know, it's got a little bit more in the sense that they are using bitmapped graphics, but the gameplay doesn't feel much better than that. So this one's kind of a hard pass. And my understanding is I haven't played through too much of this because it's so hard to get through the first level, but my understanding is that they only did like the first 3 levels of the game. So it's not quite what the other ones are in this series. And it's because, you know, this is more of a modern 16-bit arcade game, whereas a lot of the other games they've released in these cabinets are more simple 80s games. So I think from the 3 that we've looked at here, I really do like the pole position one, honestly. The Burger Time one is pretty good, but Turtles is definitely one that's just not working for the control scheme here or the hardware driving it. So skip this one, and maybe these 2 might be a fun gift for the 80s gamer in your life. That's going to do it for now. Until next time, this is Lon.TV. Thanks for watching. Yes, I think that works. I'm going to put this on the main channel, I think. I know it's not going to do very well, but I've just been dropping a lot of videos up on there anyhow. And you know what's funny is, so I as you all know, I've been doing a lot of content to Amazon. So if you go to my Amazon shop page, Lon.TV/Amazon shop, and you should all follow me there if you're not doing it already. You can see that I've been putting my videos up there. And what's so interesting is that the videos that do well on Amazon do not do well on YouTube and vice versa. It's really intriguing how that works. So like Oculus Quest is a topic that isn't of interest on the YouTube side, but I get a lot of interest on Amazon. So it's been really interesting to see, you know, what kind of audience is on Amazon for my videos versus YouTube. So that's always been kind of intriguing to me. So yeah, Hugo Craft said, yeah, you know what's funny too? I think that's a good point also, Hugo Craft. Let me put your comment up here. He was saying that the song is super low even when I had it up to my mic. And I thought maybe it was just a volume thing, but no, yeah, that's as loud as it goes. So Burger Time is like super loud. Pole Position is just right, and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is too low. So that's kind of the breakdown there. Yeah, good stuff. So yeah, this is fun. You know, it's good to look at some of these oddball things. And you know what I like about them is that they're not that expensive. And I'll get heat for this, but the pole position one, I kind of like the pole position one. It works. It does work. So there you go. What else is happening, everybody? I think I'm going to gotta jump off and do some editing because I want to edit this, get this one up. I want to get my headphones up. And we'll go from there. Unfortunately, Mark Dell was just getting out of a long meeting. I had long meetings all morning, and so this was my escape from those. But now I'm about to end the stream, unfortunately, because I got to get some more work done before the end of the day. And this is a good question from Versified about the Quest 2. Is it worth the upgrade from the first one? And I think it depends on what you're doing with the Quest. So I will say this, the display is better. It is noticeably better. It's a higher resolution, and as such, there's less of a screen door effect, and you get a much crisper image in the headset. But that said, for the native titles, because it's still running with one of those Qualcomm mobile processors, you're not seeing the detail that you would get out of it plugged into a PC. So I think if you feel like the old one is not comfortable, this is a lot more comfortable than the new one. It fits on my head better, so I think that's good. It's just more comfortable to wear. The battery life is about the same. The PC Link feature seems to work about the same. It's just as flaky on this one as it is on the original. But you'll get a better image on the PC side now than you would have with the other one. So I would say if you have the PC one, or if you use the PC Link a lot, this is an improvement. If you're not, it's marginal. That's how I would put it. Because I think there's still so many Quest 1s out there that you're not going to see that many titles kind of take advantage of it. But the 90 hertz does make a difference. I was playing in the stream yesterday. I got to add it to the playlist. On the stream yesterday, you can actually see it on Amazon if you go into my Amazon shop page, Lon.TV/Amazon shop. We did play a bit of Space Pirate Trainer on there, and that was pretty fun. It was pretty close to the PC version there. So yeah, good stuff. All right. Greg M. I feel your pain on this one. You had no escape from work being self-employed. Yes, I am with you on that front. And luckily my work is a lot of fun, but it's the worst thing I think is that because my workplace is in the home, and like tomorrow is going to be a great example of this. So my wife and kids will probably go off and do something just to get out of the house. And I will be here. And what am I going to do? I'm probably going to come down here and get some more stuff done. Because I'm like, hey, if I can get another thing done, that's another thing off the list. Like my to-do list never ends, right? It's always going. So this has been a good week, though. I've knocked out a lot of the little ones that I wanted to do. So that's what we're doing there. Here's a question from NJS Legion. Do I know when they will make a new Amazon Fire Stick? I don't know. I don't know if they will right away, because there's no compelling reason, I think, to upgrade it. I'm pretty sure the current Fire TV Stick 4K does Dolby Vision, right? So I'm not sure. I'm not sure what it is, what they're going to do. Mark Dell says he's not self-employed, but my position means I get no time off. Yeah, I know. It's one of those things. It's hard to, because now that we're all home, and if you're home and working, the assumption is you're always on duty, right? So it's tough. So, but I'm really fortunate and blessed, and I'm not complaining by any stretch. I really enjoy what I do. I love that you all get value out of it. So that's it's great for everybody there. Okay, I'm going to head out and get some more work done. We got to get some videos edited. I got at least, let's see, I got 1, 2, 3. I got 4 videos to get posted somewhere. So be on the lookout for those. So yeah, I will be back a little bit later, probably tomorrow. So tomorrow, let's see where my wife and kids are, because if I'm able to do it, I've got the Series X coming in, the Xbox Series X, which I bought at regular retail price. I didn't do the scalpers, and I'm going to set it up down here, get it all going. That'd be kind of fun to do a stream. So that'd be kind of fun. All right. Mark Dell's got a 10-story office building, but he's the only one in it. Well, that's got to be kind of fun. At least you can go home. So he's got like a 10-story house, he says. That sounds like a lot of fun, actually. At least you can watch me and nobody knows, right? So, and yeah, we'll be back again tomorrow. So we will have some more. So yeah, the Xbox will probably be tomorrow. Oddly, here's the odd thing about all this, is that the only time I play video games is when I'm working, because I don't have time when I'm not working. So, all right, everybody. We will. Yeah, here's one more question. Sorry. Will I put RetroArch on the Xbox? Yeah, I'll definitely. I think, because it seems like it might be pretty good for that. I think it'll be very good for that. And Mark brings up a good point about firefighters. That's right, because they do live and work, right? And they're waiting for the call, so they're at the fire station. Where I live, we have a volunteer firefighting force. So they all live in town. And whenever there's a fire, they have this big horn that blows, and then everybody, and they have radios, of course, and then they all head out. They run to the fire station, get in the trucks, and head out. But we have a very good, really good fire department here. And what's nice is that all the area towns work together with mutual aid. So they're busy. Whenever there's something going on, all the towns come in and help each other. And they do a very good job working together. And I'm grateful for them. In fact, when I first moved to my house, I have 2 houses behind me. We have a shared driveway. And I had just moved in, and I had got my TV, which was the first thing I bought for the house, on my couch. And I fell asleep watching David Letterman or something. And I woke up in the middle of the night, and like the whole fire department is in my driveway. And I said, oh my gosh, what's going on? And it turns out that the neighbor's house behind me, which was just constructed, had caught fire and was totally involved. And so I was able to watch like the whole thing play out from my window there. So we'll have to see. So yeah, it was quite the scene. But I have a bunch of friends on the fire department, and one of the great things about being in a small town is that you can go in and vote for the budget every year and support them directly, which is great. Mark Smith wants to know what time tomorrow. I am not sure, because I don't know what time FedEx is going to show up. And then the complicating factor here is that, and this is what I love about New England, where I live, we have this storm coming, and nobody knows whether it's just going to be a rainstorm, a sort of like rain sleet storm, or a blizzard. We don't know what it's going to be yet. So it may or may not come tomorrow, depending on the weather. So we'll have to see what it looks like. So stay tuned, everybody. I will let you know. Best thing to do is set your notifications, and we'll take a look at that. Brandon Wallace, as I say, yeah, so this was, I moved here so I bought this house in 2007, so it was around about 10 or 11 years ago. Yeah, 12 years ago. Yeah, it was probably 2007, because I had just moved in. We moved in like February, March of 2007, because it was before I got married. But yeah, it was right when I moved in. And I just bought, so it was the second house that I've owned, and in both cases, the first thing I bought when I bought the house was a TV and a couch. That's all I needed. My wife took care of all the other furniture. I just needed my TV and the couch. And I bought this cheap couch. So we've got this furniture store in Connecticut called Bob's Discount Furniture. So you get like decent furniture cheap. In fact, I got one of his couches over there in my home theater nook. And I was like, wow, it's a great leather couch. It was great. You get two for the price of one, essentially, you know. And now though, all the leather is like just peeling off of it. It just like it hit like year 8 or 9 of its life, and now it's just everything's just peeling off of it. And it's weird because there's nothing in that room that would dry it out. It just has a lifespan to it. So that's that. All right, everybody. I am going to head out a bit, and I'm going to come back tomorrow maybe. We'll see. No promises, but we'll give it a shot, see what happens. And I thank you all for helping me do my work here, and look for this one very soon on the channel. Talk to you in a little bit.